welcome back, once again, to Dungeon Maker here on the World of Madness server. What I'm about to show you is possibly the most spectacularly rubbish example of MTV's Cribs parodies you have ever seen. But, welcome to my crib, yo. So, I have finished digging this area out. I have not had time this week so far, with everything going on, to make it look pretty, and we can hear it raining up top. Unfortunately, it is also not night, so I can't stop that. But I have gone even so far as to brick up the old ladder. We can now only access the trapdoor wiring up here, because this is basically a janitor's closet, is what this thing is. So it needs to have access to all the areas that I might need to maintain one way or the other. We even have actually boarded up the old entrance here, so now access to the main, interior is only accessible through here. So if somebody's just, in the middle of a fight, in the middle of, a dungeon run, I can just come up behind them, more or less, I guess. If I feel like being spectacularly cruel and placing myself as a boss in my full traditional armor, although on this server that doesn't mean terribly much. A little too far. Okay, so this has moved back a bit. This is now aligned. Everything looks more like a gigantic cleared out rectangle, but what else is new in Minecraft, I guess? We can still see this. Which honestly, I kind of like that I can see this wiring. I actually might dig this up higher and just go back and put some glass here. It's like, look upon the things I have mastered. Can I sleep yet? No, not yet. Okay. Just as it's raining. Ew. So yeah, I've got a slightly larger enchanting table area than I could go for before. I've got up to level 22 now, so yay. I'll start making some actual armor that's decent for me, not just for the people going into the dungeon. I haven't figured out what to do with the furnaces yet. I was thinking that I would have some kind of automated setup because I don't like handling furnaces on a one-by-one manual basis. Honestly, I am too accustomed to automation for that. But the chests are also going to be filled in, so here we just have regular chests, and more or less things are sorted here. A bit better than they were before. Need to put half slabs up here for neatness, and also do the entire room, more or less, in terms of neatness and prettiness. But I'm going to be putting trapped chests in between, so I can get a nice little bank of chests here, for all the storage of things I might need. I don't particularly need a sorting system for this area, because whilst you can no longer put item frames and be able to reach around them, pretty much I don't, there's not going to be much in the way of, massive building. It's mostly digging around here, honestly. Digging in sandstone. And there's my sandstone. Although I probably will have a secondary chest for sand, because I've still got to get a lot of that. But other than that, that's the main thing. I haven't moved the farms yet. I haven't really changed anything inside of the actual dungeon just yet, because I spent a while doing a bunch of other stuff, which you've probably already seen, such as Mating Do Episode 1, Episode 2 coming up very soon. Hopefully with some special voice appearances, but we'll see about that. But this is probably the thing that I spent the most time trying to get working. So this part over here, it's pretty obvious what this is. This is a drop. This is the lift down. So you open up that trapdoor up there. I might try and make that a bit more discreet. And you get dropped down to here. You hit the vines, which decelerates you. You pass through that tripwire you can just about see, and that closes the trapdoor behind you. And then you land here, safe as houses. Because if you, falling damage is calculated after 3 blocks. So you take damage equal to the number of blocks fallen minus 3 minimum of 0. So if you drop 3 blocks, you don't take any damage. You just can't get back up very easily. And then there's another one here that doesn't auto-close, because I haven't put that in, because why not? That just takes me down to more or less the mining level. Yeah, here we go. And I used this tunnel just to make sure that I could actually grab everything in a reasonably expedient fashion. That was a creeper I just passed, wasn't it? Sucks to be you. You were in the worst place, dude. But I'll take your copper. I'll take your gunpowder. Lovely. Yes, this just accesses into the former zone where I had all the storage. I haven't moved this, because this is actually kind of a pain to craft, so I'll have to remember how I did that and then put that together. You can still access the wiring over there, but by and large this has all been sealed up. And up over here, of course, is the maintenance entryway to the dungeon. But the main thing that you're all probably wondering is, how do I get back up? I could just go all the way over there and take the stairs, but the ladder. But instead, I have this really cheap and expedient way of getting all the way up. Oh, is it night? Oh, hurrah. I hope so. I need to have like I need to have like a bank of redstone lamps down here to just tell me what is going on. Are there people in the dungeon? Have they given up? Is it day? Is it night? That kind of thing. But, anyways, so, to go to the surface, which I can now no longer otherwise reach. Oh, this is gonna be fun. I go in here, and I hit this. And if I'm the slightest bit lucky and standing in the right part of the block, it works. Hi there, how are you, sir? There we go. And this is not, unfortunately I can't cover this. If I put so much as a carpet on top of this, it will in fact be blocked. And apparently an Enderman has stolen a bit of my wire covering here. Tricksy. But yeah, so there is now no way, without actually breaking blocks, to get, like, into my janitor's area, or out of it, except for these 2 points. So, beautiful, let's just give this a shot. Show it off. There we go. As I say, I need to make that be a bit more discreet, but for the moment, it's pretty sweet, I think. Let's close this. I actually have a short supply of vines. I've got like literally 1 vine left, so I had to be a bit careful that I don't accidentally place a torch on top of it right now. I should do what I did just back in the well and just have a big wall of it. That used to work. That worked fine. But yeah, that is what's currently going on, and I kind of need to wonder what I'm going to do in here, because, like, there's a whole ton of different looks I could go for. I could make it look like a crypt, I could make it look like a tomb, I could make it look like some kind of dark, foreboding chamber. I could half slab it so I don't have lights. I can do a whole ton of stuff, really. But, more or less, the only thing I know for certain that I want to do is have indicators. So, you get to a certain zone, you turn off a certain trap, you trigger a certain circuit, and it lights up a lamp over here so that I have some degree of idea of what's going on in the dungeon. But, right now, I don't really have that. And it'd be kind of fun to know. I suppose I could just always, like, boot up RememberCam and have them follow the players through the worlds. But, yeah, that's another thing. RememberCam cannot access here now. Because of the fix that prevents RememberCam from going into terrain, RememberCam now has no means whatsoever of getting in here normally. Like they didn't before, because they couldn't go through the ladders. Because the ladders don't qualify as, don't qualify as, passable terrain to the system that Monkey hooked up, as I discussed at length last episode, more or less. But yeah, so I'm thinking I want to have maybe a bank of lights over here, possibly, or maybe along here, because there's already wiring galore over here. And then I think what I'm gonna start maybe working on, because there's only really a bunch of digging out to be done for the third sanctuary, so that's not a major problem. What I'm probably gonna be working on is getting the equipment system going. So, to describe this, for people who don't know this already, can I get this right? Yes, I can. Perfect. So over here is sort of the adventurer's encampment. And what this is a tent that has been set up by whatever plucky adventuring group, who has apparently lit an anvil, has decided to take on the Tomb of Tukar dungeon. And essentially these chests are what you brought with you, in which case, leave it, because people around here have access to a lot of high-quality gear, to say the least, so there's more or less no way outside of command blocks that I can make the things in there a reasonable challenge without basically just dropping TNT onto them continually, and dare I say that would really mess up the tomb if even one of them misfired. So people have to go into the tomb with a standardized, more or less, like, equipment list. And what I could say is you can only bring in certain tiers of armor, so say leather and chainmail. You can't bring in like more than a stone sword, or you can't bring in more than 2 potions, no buckets, that kind of thing. But that is ultimately still most likely incredibly easy for the tricksy, sneaky people upon World of Madness to abuse in some fashion. So they'll just, like, kit it out with unbreaking or even mending these days, and they'll just stick around forever. They'll take no damage from protection 5 armor, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's not the kind of thing I want to allow. So what instead I will be doing is I will have a system where you stand on a pressure plate or you push a button and it fires a dropper into a nearby chest X number of times. Let's say 6 or 7, maybe 8 times total, maybe even 9, have a full hotbar of items. And that will randomly select your inventory for the dungeon. And from that point on, people don't have to worry so much about losing their items inside the dungeon. They don't need to worry about fairness and balancing as much, because I'll have taken care of that, more or less. And it will add a degree of chaos. It'll add our D20 rolls, our D100s and whatnot, because the players won't know what they're going to have until they get, like, geared up to go in. At which point, they don't get to decide what it is. So, yeah, that'd be sweet. And plus, I can mix and match. It also means that if I have a fairly even spread, so for example, most of the enemies in here are undead. So, harming potions, always dangerous. Healing potions, on the other hand, always good. So, healing potions will probably make an appearance inside of the equipment list. But then there's also things like there might be potions of night vision. There might be pickaxes. Not that that will see you much good. Maybe that'll be just like basically a junk item instead of a sword. Because pickaxes and axes can be pretty sweet. Axes will definitely make the weapon list, I guess. There probably won't be placeable items like torches or jack-o'-lanterns and other blocks. Just because with the Mining Fatigue 3 that's put on by the Three Sisters, you can place blocks at regular speed, as we know from my clearing the place out. You cannot pick them back up. And unless I have a button to basically eject the sisters from the area, which I could, that's not inconceivable. And I'll probably need that too if I'm going to live here, if I'm going to be living that close to the area. Yeah, having blocks would make it very difficult to tidy up. And I'd like to keep the maintenance of this area to a minimum. The more I can make it redstone automated and such, the better. But yeah, there might be a flint and steel. That would give you a quick flash of light, at no danger to me and whatnot. And all sorts of other things. So, actually a compass in there might help out as well if I, for example, forbade having F3 up. So there's all sorts of really interesting, fun stuff that I can like put into a purposefully designed equipment list, and there is make a whole bunch of stuff, and it selects 9 items, and you get whatever it spits out at you. Now that might mean you get a whole ton of weapons and no armor, in which case you might want to share amongst one another. It might mean that you get a whole ton of armor and no weapons. It might mean that you have to run through with potions. It might mean you get no potions. It might mean you get a bow and no arrows. Or maybe I'll make a system to make sure you always get a couple of arrows at least. Of course, you're fighting skeletons for some degree in there, so you probably will be picking up some arrows. But yeah, the possibilities are almost endless if I am the one that gets to select what items go into and come out of the tomb. So since I'm already going to be designing the loot, what you eventually get from the treasure chests in here, so the sanctuaries are going to be our next step in this. It's getting dark, oh boy. So yeah, the sanctuaries are the first and most obvious place that I could put treasure chests. So functioning on basically the same kind of system as the equipment givers, the treasure chests would randomly contain certain items that will be useful to people inside of the tomb. So, for example, more healing potions. For example, a weapon. For example, some kind of ammunition, that kind of thing. And that's something else that I can list up, so I know what kind of creatures we'll be fighting, I know what kind of tools will be useful, I know what kind of tools will not be useful, because I can pot lid somebody if anybody gets that reference. But yeah, so that's my next job, I think, whilst I'm digging stuff out, is write up a list of items and, like, their advantages and disadvantages in the environment of the dungeon. And yes, this episode has been about 50% me yammering on about how rubbish this room is so far, and 50% me yammering on about giving people pot lids before they go into the dungeon. But anyways, with that, I hope you've enjoyed. This has been Dungeon Maker. Hopefully more progress next episode. And I've been lying in bed, Mon. Hope you've enjoyed World of Madness. I'll catch you all next time. Blip. Beep.